Imagine you wake up in the morning and you have a business idea that you saw in your dream and you're in love with it. Well, what do? I think that you have to act very quickly. You actually don't have all that much time. The reason being that what I find for myself is that when I have an idea, it needs fuel and fire. And that fuel is specifically meaningful action. And what I mean by meaningful action is any action that gets your idea much closer to reality, right? You need to try to implement it as soon as possible. So for example, meaningful action could be, starting it, right? Making a website, or making sure that you get your customers interested, or potential customers, giving them a call, talking to people, getting out of the building. Not meaningful action, but potentially useful action is things like writing a business plan, or creating all kinds of graphs, business model canvases, etc. I'm not saying that these actions are not good. I'm just saying that they are maybe useful versus meaningful. Let me give you an example. The other week I had to do a keynote to a bunch of entrepreneurs who were just starting out their journey. And the keynote was about how to make a successful business. In the morning I had an idea that, I really need to not really talk about it in theory, but I need to show it in practice. Sorry, still dealing with a cough and an allergy. So I thought about what can I do? One thing is I can talk about all kinds of theories. The other thing I can do is I can start a business right there on the stage. And I've had the idea in my dream, hence the example, to start a cafe or a tea drinking ceremony, which is something I've been really interested in. It's a hobby. I'm actually doing a course where I'm learning how to become a tea ceremony master. And I was like, well, can I combine tea ceremonies with business? And my idea was, can I have a tea ceremony and mentoring and guidance and business united together? And on the stage, I gave examples of how to do it, and from interviewing customers to validating to launching. So I actually asked on stage, hey guys, who would be interested in such an idea that you would go to a tea ceremony where you will be guided on your business? And there was about 40 people in the room, and I would say maybe 30, 35, 70, 80, 90, maybe 95% of the people raised their hands, right? They were like, yeah, this is a great idea. I love it. It sounds great. Wonderful. And that's what always happens with ideas. People always want to support each other when it comes to any kind of ideas, really. And then I said, well, you know what? Let's make it real. I have 5 spots. In 2 weeks, we're going to have an actual, tea ceremony. Are you in or out? And about 10, maybe 12 people raised their hands. I'm still in. I'm going to do it. Right. I'm set. And I was like, well, how can I trust that? Right. So what I did next, slide, click. And on this slide was my bank account. And I said, well, if you really want to do it, I have 5 spots. Wire the money right now. And people, started doing. I had to do some convincing and some salesmanship. And then 5 people transferred the money. Well, none of it was money because, technically all it was money, but one of it was a crypto transaction, and it was very interesting because some said, well, I can't give you any money because I want to do it through crypto. I had the next slide, which had my crypto account, and I really love that because that was prepared. And now we're going to have that ceremony next week. And the thing that I did here is that before doing that, I did nothing for the business, right? I didn't have a name. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. I wanted to think of what is the most meaningful action that I can take to validate this business. Talk to customers directly, offer it to customers, and take some money, right? As quickly as possible, without anything intermediary in between. And why did I do it specifically so quickly, less than a day, 24 hours? And why did I specifically want money? Well, 2 things. One, again, ideas and fire, right? If you don't take meaningful action, I think ideas tend to die out. And I like note taking, and I was taking a lot of notes, but I also found out that when I take notes or write things about the ideas, I don't actually create ideas, and sometimes they get stuck in the notes, they're filed nicely, and that means I don't have to do anything about ideas subconsciously, and it kind of dwindles away. On the other hand, if I start doing meaningful action, I interact with people, and responsibilities start to form. Right now, I have sold 5 units within a few hours after the idea happened, and I have to deliver upon it. Well, now that I have some confirmation, I want to act upon it. I have to send an email to these people. I have to invite them somewhere. Well, now I have need a name. We brainstormed with my wife about it, and she came up with a beautiful name called Serenity, pun, Serenity. And I bought the domain, serenity.cafe, made a website on card.co. Took me like 3 minutes to make the website, template, everything simple, no logos, no nothing, just text, a bit of copywriting, boom, launch. Need to take payments, connected to Stripe account. Within maybe an hour and a half, I had a functioning website with a Stripe account where I can take money, I can share it, I can tell people the story, and I can spread it. At the moment, I don't want to spread further because I want to have that first ceremony. But I went from nothing to customers first in order to, in order to validate it as quickly as possible and force myself to interact with the market, with people, and create a link of responsibility between them, not wait. And I truly believe that in almost any business idea, you can do something like this. You can get to customers with nothing, right? Literally nothing. And if you don't believe that, challenge me. Come to my Discord, or well, most likely you are in my Discord because I'm making it for my Discord users, Jan specifically, who asked this question and inspired me to make the video. So I think it's super important to do things right away. And then you have action that is less meaningful. And I think it's a very, very tricky part because I spent like half of my energy, I would say, that week on this thing, which was very meaningful action, I find. But then I had this idea that, meaningful action is very important to me. I was thinking a lot about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go through all my tasks that I have in all my note-taking apps, which at the moment was Rome, research. And I want to make sure that I add a new category, meaningful action, and categorize my task and focus more on meaningful action now that I had this experience and I thought more about meaningful action. And when I started doing that, I realized that Rome research is not quite the perfect tool that I thought it to be. Excuse me. And then I found Obsidian, which is a different tool for note-taking, and I love how both Rome and Obsidian and many similar apps deal with how you take notes, using in a way how your brain thinks. And there are some subtle differences, but I really like the Obsidian approach. And then I spent basically like 2 days, or maybe even 3 days, of researching Obsidian, merging to Obsidian, setting up all my templates, setting up my workflows in Obsidian, reorganizing my notes, and doing a lot of work on how to optimize my note-taking, my to-do apps, and the way I choose tasks or things I want to work on. And this second part of the week was not meaningful action, right? It was very useful action, and I'm already getting a lot of benefits out of it. But at the same time, I have to ask myself the question, if I didn't do that and focus more on meaningful action, would I have, more subscribers on my Discord channel, right? Would I have made this video sooner? Would I have more clients in Serenity, right? Would I come up with new things? And the answer to that is probably yes. But at the same time, useful action is also important, and you have to find a balance, or I have to find a balance between the two. And it's all about conscious effort and consciously figuring out what is meaningful and what is useful and what is, neither of the two, right? Which needs to be dropped, deleted, and ignored. And this was the approach of basically creating a business from scratch, from nothing, into something. And I think a lot of people are afraid of taking that leap, either consciously or subconsciously. I work with a lot of startups, and I see how they are not taking meaningful action, even if they have like 50,000 euros of revenue every month coming in. They very often choose to still not take meaningful action by, doing all kinds of things that are not leading to direct results. That said, a bit of a caveat, and I don't want to, make this topic bigger than it should be, but one thing that is important is once you build companies, you have to be careful. Meaningful action is not always just going directly to the customer, because at some point you have to build an actual business and all the processes within it, and that also is meaningful action. But you have to figure out when is that action becomes meaningful. So the action itself and the task that you have, it can vary when it becomes meaningful. So if you do something early on, it can be meaningful, but if you do it way too late, it can be useful or useless. So you have to take into account what stage you're in to figure out if action is truly meaningful, useful, or useless. So I hope that helps you to think about how you think about the ideas and how you clarify them and how you choose them and how you start working on them. Just my wish upon you is to take action right away whenever you have any idea. And it's not just about business ideas, but any ideas about improving your life, changing how you work, changing your habits, right? It's if you delay it and you don't give it fuel, my feeling is, and my personal experience is, that these ideas tend to be left out and you never do them again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. There is nothing really where you can subscribe and or do anything. I just want to make sure that you get some value, and hopefully you will find this useful. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know. In Discord is probably the best place where we can discuss these things, and I hope it gives you some questions so we can discuss them. I love questions and I love to help. So bring your questions, bring your business ideas that we can discuss, or challenges that you have, and we can discuss them and see how we can learn from this. Thank you. Ta-ta.